Hey guys, Brad Speed here. I have another CRF250L video today. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be essentially deleting the side stand switch on the bike. Now, why would you want to do this? The type of riding that I do personally, sort of enduro and hard trail riding, every now and again, it's happened to me a few times. I'll come over a decent sized jump, and as I land, if it's a hard landing, the side stand spring isn't strong enough, and the side stand sort of flicks down a little bit, enough that it engages the switch and shuts the engine down, which is really frustrating, especially if you're, you might be doing a hill climb. It's happened to me actually once, doing a hill climb. Halfway up the hill was a decent sized jump, did a little jump, come down, the engine shut off, and it was a real pain in the ass trying to get back up the hill climb again after having completely stopped. Now, the reason for the switch is meant to be a safety thing from Honda. So the idea is that if the bike's on a stand, you're standing next to it, you can't accidentally click it into gear and the bike takes off on you. If you're a relatively experienced rider or you're relatively careful, it's not going to happen to you. So it's not really a concern for me. The concern is getting the bike, having the bike randomly shut down after a big bump or a jump when I'm halfway through a trail. So essentially I'm going to hardwire the switch so that the bike thinks that the stand is always up regardless of the position of the stand. Okay, so this is what we're going to be working with. This is a side stand here, obviously. Now you can see this little connector here. That's going to a switch that's just behind this housing here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the housing off. Okay, a little bit of dust and mucking around, but I'll just show you. So we've got our switch here. It comes up through here, up through a little cable holder there, and then comes up into this green plug. So that green plug is our side stand plug. As I mentioned earlier, the way the bike's supposed to operate is if the bike's running, the stand is down, and you click it into gear, it shuts off. So I'm going to do a control test first just to make sure it's operating. I'll start the bike, put the switch in the stand down position, and chuck it into gear, and it should cut off. Then what I'll do is I'm going to disconnect the plug and do the same test. If the bike runs with the plug disconnected, then I'll know that an open circuit, so with those two wires not connected, that's what tells the bike that the stand is up. Now if this is the case, happy days. Put all the covers back on, pull the switch out, all good. If it's not, if I disconnect the plug and the bike shuts off when it's in gear and the side stands down, then what I'm going to have to do, it just means that a closed circuit is what allows the bike, to run. A closed circuit means the stand is up. So what I'll have to do is I'll cut those two wires on the plug, I'll join them, seal them, plug it back in. Basically it's a circuit loop, so it just goes loop straight through. This is going to mean that the bike permanently thinks that the stand is up. Hopefully that makes sense, but going to test it, and hopefully best case scenario, with the plug out, the bike runs. Otherwise I'm just going to have to muck around and snip those wires and solder them together. Cool, that's exactly how it should operate. Alright, I'm going to disconnect the plug and test it again. Okay, disconnected. Okay, shut straight off. That means closed circuit means stand up. So I'm just going to have to snip that plug, connect the two wires, and plug it back in. It should be happy days. Just to be safe, I've just sort of cut the plug off and join the wires. And just before I do anything that I can't undo, just in case there's something that I've missed, always a good plan, I've just joined them, sort of dummy joined them. Can I connect it together? Now, don't let it touch anything. I'd say it's probably almost definitely just an earth through there. So there's very little likelihood of it earthing through the frame or causing an issue. I very doubt that's live, but always good to be safe. So I'm going to do a test now, just to confirm my theory. I'll chuck the bike in neutral. Okay, start her up. Alright, let's see how we go. Hey, there we go. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to actually solder that connection and then seal it up nicely with some heat shrink, and I'll just pull the wire back through, and then that's it, we're done. Now have a stand that doesn't matter if it comes down a little bit, it can't shut the bike down. I've soldered the connection, got some heat shrink on there, I'm going to slide that down, seal it up, and get rid of that, and tidy up and put it all back together. Out of an abundance of caution, I've actually just electrical taped that little wire loop together, and then wrapped it back onto the plug and electrical taped it back up. Look, the thing is with this, if something goes wrong with this and that connection breaks, it's going to stop the bike from running. and there'd be nothing I can do about it out on a trail. So I'm 5 or 6 k's out in the bush, and that goes wrong. I'm stuck. I'm completely stuffed. So I normally wouldn't go this far, but because this going wrong is something that will stop the bike from running, I'm just going to go that little bit extra. So once I slide this sheath back down onto it, push that back in, all good. Basically nothing can go wrong with this now, famous last words, but you know, with something like that, you know, it's not a bad idea just to go that little extra mile, because yeah, something goes wrong, it's going to be a big consequence. She's all back together. Re-cable tied all my frame guards and everything back on. And I've put this cover back on just because you see it's got quite a few marks on it. It's a little bit of extra protection for the mounting on the stand. But just to show you that everything definitely works. Stand down, no worries.